you all this morning? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, my brothers and sisters in the Lord. Good morning. It is Pastor Belinda. How are you all this morning? I pray that you all are well. I pray that you all are blessed. I pray that you all are here. So why don't you, I'll give you time. Good morning. Good morning. This is Belinda's page now I'm turning on. Good morning, Belinda's page. Good morning. Good morning. It's nice to wake up late. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's time to set your day by the words you say what we gain in our lane, and we are never the same. I shall never be the same. I decide to never be the same. I decide to allow myself to change. I give myself room for change. Who gives themselves room for change? I allow myself to grow. Yeah. Learn new things, think new thoughts, and speak new words. I will allow myself to think new thoughts, speak new words, and learn new things. Good morning. Good morning. Who's in here with me? Who's in here with me? Give me a thumbs up or just give me a little heart and say, I'm in here with you. Blessings, blessings. So why don't you share and share and share? Share and let them know that we're in the room together. Share. Share, share, share. Let your friends know, let your families know, let your mom and them know that we are in the room together. I'm not going to be before you long. Today is also prayer 8:30 prayer, and I'll be on the 8:30 line for 15 minutes if you want to pray, if you have a prayer request. But I wanted to come and say a couple of things, okay? So this this morning I was meditating, and I'm just going to flow. How about that? So who's in the room with me? If you could just let me know who you are so that I can shout your name out. I enjoy when people let me know who's in the room. Let me just see if I can know who's in the room. Okay, swipe to the left for comments. Okay, there we go. Do I have it swiped to the left? So let me know who's in the room. And why don't you guys share? Because I can't share. I don't have my other device. I forgot to bring my iPad down here. So if you always share, I would appreciate it because I don't know who's in the room with me this morning. But I was just meditating this morning before. Oh, good morning. And so I wanted to talk about a couple of things. And so first, I wanted you to say that I am thinking new thoughts, I am speaking new words, and I am receiving new ideas. And so one of the biggest things that I've been meditating on is that the body of Christ, or the ones who believe that Christ lives inside of them, the presence of God on our flesh, and that the Godhead's idea was to get man's attention away from a book or a building and get them into the person of God inside of themselves. So the inside minded. So what the New Testament or the new creation status is all about is people understanding that God is now in them. He's not outside of them. And I think that's a big concept because a lot of us are still believing that God is in heaven, that God is away from us. And he's saying that I am nigh thee. I am in what? Your mouth and in your heart. The spirit of faith speaks. It's stating that I live in you. I have my being inside of them. And so all of his ideas, all of the personification of who he is, his kindness, his love, his peace is inside of us. So what are you going to do with all of that that's inside of you? What are you going to do? How are you going to flow that out? How are you going to live your life to show that you have him in you? How are you going to show that? So how are you going to show kindness or live peace or live hope or live fairness, being fair, do unto others as you would have them do unto you? But then first, before you do unto others as you would have them do unto you, learn how to do unto yourself first. Because I've seen that a lot of people don't even know how to do unto themselves. And so they're treating people bad because they treat themselves bad. They hate on people because they hate on themselves, you know? And so sometimes we need to learn how to love ourselves first before we choose to love someone else. We need to spend time with ourselves to encourage ourselves before we learn how to encourage others and be successful in it. Be successful in speaking words of wisdom to yourself, speaking words of encouragement to yourself on a consistent basis, and believing your own word inside of your own self before you give it out to others. I think a lot of times we as Christians, we want to go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. We want to tell everyone about Jesus the Christ. We want to tell everyone about the born again experience. But a lot of us as Christians haven't lived the born again experience to the full, to the abundant, till it overflows inside of us. And I think that's why the church has not been so impressive to me or others, is that we can preach a really good high faith game, but a lot of people are not living that high faith level. They're not living with peace and in peace. They're not living with love and in love. They're not being fair. They're not giving love to themselves and love to others. They're holding grudges. They're bitter and they're holding unforgiveness. And so when we, as the born again, as the new creation status, walk in the newness of life, it is to change our soul, our mind, will, and emotions, change how we handle people, change how we handle ourselves. And so the first thing that we need to talk about is, how are you handling yourself? Have you forgiven yourself for the trespasses that you trespassed against yourself? When you said things that you were going to do and you did not do. You said you're going to do it, but you didn't do it. Lifestyles that you stated that you were going to change or that you were going to improve in, and you did not. And you swore by your own oath and you did not fulfill it. And so how can you swear to someone else if you haven't even sworn to your own self? How can you keep a word to someone else if you're not keeping word to yourself? And so what I want you to do is, some people are better to others than they are to themselves, and that's not good. Some people are better to others than they are to themselves. They'll feed others and not feed themselves. They'll be true to others and won't be true to themselves. They'll love on others, but they won't love on themselves. They will forgive others. They will forgive others, but they won't forgive themselves. And so the Bible says that I have come that you might have and enjoy your life to the full, to the abundant, till it overflows. So one of the first things that I want you to know this morning on the 28th of August is that Christ came for you to enjoy your life. He came for you. Before you start go telling it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere, trying to be an evangelist into the neighborhoods, trying to be an evangelist into all of the countries and everything. First thing I want you to know is that if you're not impressive, if you're not in love with yourself and the God in you, if you're not confident in your own faith relationship, then why are you going to share that, try to share something better with someone else? So we need to get our equity up in ourselves first before we put equity in others. We need to get the joy up inside of ourselves before we try to pass joy to others. It says, I have a joy down in my heart first. Making sure that joy is in your heart. Peace is in your heart. Hope is in your heart. So what I want you to do is give to yourself first. Self-care. I want you to encourage yourself first. Learn how to encourage yourself before you encourage others. Learn how to give to yourself, love yourself, peace yourself, forgive yourself before you forgive others. Allow peace to live inside of you, in your house, in your temple, in your being first, before you decide to give it to others. Allow hope to be inside of yourself before you give it to others, and say that I have hope, it lives inside of me, and I share hope with myself first. And then give testimonies of how you loved yourself, of how you hoped on yourself, hoped against hope on yourself, saying that I was disappointed in myself, but I gave myself hope. I said, I'm going to invest in myself. When was the last time you invested in yourself, your own ideas, your own thoughts? When did you do self-care? A lot of times we'll give so much money to our children and we won't self-care our own selves. We'll give a lot of energy to our children and we won't to ourselves. And so it's very important for us that God so loved that he gave He loved us first that he gave. So I want you to love yourself first. And then when you're filled up with love for yourself, you can overflow to others. This one person stated that I was so jealous of the people around me because I was being better to them than I was to myself. I gave them better time. They said I gave them better energy. I gave them all of my good energy. And when it was time to give myself something, all of my energy was gone. And so I don't want that to be you. I want you to make sure that you give yourself something great. Give yourself the best of yourself. Why don't you say that? Say, I will give myself the best of myself. Say that again. Say, I will give myself the best of myself. And that's important, to give yourself the best. It's almost like when Jesus went to that wedding, and then the feast person stated that you save the best for last, the best wine for last. When he multiplied the wine, I want you to give yourself the best. Say that. Say, I'm going to give myself the best time. I'm going to give myself the best love. I'm going to give myself the best hope. And you start thinking, I'm going to give myself the best joy and the best happiness. And you start thinking of blessings to you, Marquina, blessings to you. And you're thinking about, what can I do for myself? What kind of time can I give myself? What kind of joy can I give myself? What kind of hope can I give my own self? I'm asking that you all share. Let's get these numbers up, because I don't have my iPad to share, let people know that I'm on today. So if you could share, I'd appreciate it. So I want you to be good to yourself, because a lot of times we're trying to be good to everyone else and we're not being good to ourselves. We're not knowing that God lives in us first. God saved us first. God gave us joy. He gave us peace. He gave us hope. First, for God so loved that he gave you abundance. He gave you joy. He gave you happiness. He gave you peace so that you could have eternal life. Some people are jealous that they're giving so much to others and they're not giving to themselves. I remember one time, it was Christmas, and I was shopping for others. You know how we love to give gifts to people. And I was shopping for others, and I would ask them, give me a list of things that you want and let me know where it is, because I enjoy giving people things that they want instead of just guessing at times. I'll surprise you every once in a while, but I'd like to give people a gift that they want, the desires of their heart. And so we asked certain people, what would you like for Christmas? And they gave me a list, and I would choose maybe one thing on the list. And I remember going to get this one thing for this one person that asked that we wanted to give a gift to. And I went into the store and I saw this thing that they were asking for, and I said, "Ooh, that's expensive." And I started thinking, I said, I'm not even paying a lot of money for myself or giving myself a gift that is great. I wouldn't pay this much money for myself. And I was at the register and I was going to buy this gift for this person because I love them so much. And then I started thinking, I said, I don't spend this much money on myself. And I did a check, inside check. And I said, I'm going to have to start being good to myself, not only just good to others. I remember that. I said, I'm not just going to be good to others. I'm going to be good to myself, because I realized that I enjoy giving people good gifts. But are you giving yourself good gifts? I enjoy giving people great time. But are you giving yourself the best and the great time? I enjoy giving people encouragement. But do you give yourself encouragement? Yeah. And so I want you to encourage yourself. What makes you happy? And I want you to make a list of what makes you happy, not other people. Oh, I know it makes my spouse happy, or I know it makes my children or my grandchildren happy, or my friend. What makes you happy? What brings you joy? What brings you joy? I want you to write down a list of what makes you happy and what brings you joy, so that you can start speaking that out loud, saying that this brings me joy, and you experience your joy now. You experience what makes you happy. You experience what makes you feel loved, and you write it down and say, this makes me feel loved. I feel loved when. I want you to do that, okay? You understand what I'm talking about? Is that I want you to invest in yourself. Because for God so loved the world, for God so loved you, that he gave you today. He gave you today. He gave you today to love on yourself. So the born again experience was to get God inside of you. not to get them in a book or in a building, but inside of you. And if we're going to be living epistles read of men, then we have to be the best. We have to be where God is. See, a lot of us don't really believe that God is inside of us. We still believe that he's outside of us. So when you are happy, then God's happy. When you're joyful, then God's joyful. A lot of people think that's selfish. The Christian experience is not just about me. Well, it was about you. He loved you, then he came. Because of you, he sacrificed. Because of you, he decided to die. Because of you, he decided to give you his life. And the life that he's given you is the life that he's given you. And he wants you to find your life first before you give it away. He wants you to receive joy into your life before you give it to others. He wants you to experience the joy of the Lord, which is your strength, before you try to pass out the joy of the Lord, which is your strength. He wants you to not just talk about other people's experience of joy, of other people's experience of miracles, but he wants you to have your own individual miracle with him. He wants you to have your own individual moment of joy, so that when you are out there loving on yourself, you'll be seen as loving on yourself, and others will see it. And there's a scripture that says, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto him. So as you are lifting up love inside of yourself, it draws people to him. As you step lifting up joy to yourself, radiating it, finding out what you enjoy, finding out what makes you smile, what makes you full of love, that radiates of him. Though I speak with the tongue of men and of angels, and I have not what? That God-inspired love, it profits me nothing. Jesus was at Mary and Martha's house. Martha was busy about many things, but Jesus said what is needed. Martha, Mary is doing what is needed, receiving for herself, not just giving out to others, but receiving for herself. And I want you to receive for yourself. I want you to radiate love out of yourself while you're loving yourself. I want you to radiate peace. You know, when the tempest is raging, when everyone else is losing their head, when everyone else is falling apart, I want you to do self-care to make sure that you're at peace. And that will radiate the love of God. They'll be drawn to God because you are loving on yourself, that you're radiating peace, and they'll be drawn to that peace of God that passeth all understanding. As you are radiating in your joy and in your happiness, that will radiate the presence of God himself without you speaking a word with the tongue of men and angels, without you giving your body to be burned or sacrificing anything. The only thing you're sacrificing is let God arise and his enemies be scattered. That you allow yourself to radiate the glow of God, and it will, it's amazing to me, everyone, how if you smell something good coming out of a restaurant, if you're walking down the street, well, let me just say this. I'm a foodie. I enjoy food. And so if I'm walking and I want to eat something, if I start smelling something that smells really good, if I'm walking down the street at a food festival or whatever, I'm like, what is that? I want some of that. I want some of that. And I'll sniff it out if it's good. And people will sniff it out if your life is good. They'll sniff out God. That's what he's saying, that joy is me. Peace is me. Yeah. And so as you are, so is he in this world. I know it's a different way of seeing things. It's a different way of living, isn't it? That he wants you to go to the grocery store and just be in love with yourself. And that will radiate the presence of God on flesh. As you are piecing yourself with your grandchildren, being at peace, being at joy, being at happy, it will radiate the presence of God himself without you speaking the tongues of men and of angels. But you have that God-inspired love. It'll draw men unto himself. It won't give you all the attention. They won't know why they're radiating towards you, but you'll know that that's God because he lives inside of you. Say, God is here. Say, when I love on myself, when I radiate love, when I radiate joy, when I radiate peace for myself and on myself, when I go for my own advantage, and I know that God lives in me, that he's come that I might have that life and that I might enjoy my own life. Before I tell others of enjoying their lives, of how God can improve their life, I need to meditate on God improving my life. Say that again. Say, I need to meditate on God improving my life before I testify that God is improving others. Yeah. I want you to have a testimony of how God improved your life, of how he made you smile, of how he had you invest in yourself. He came that you would invest in yourself because he invested in you. He believes that you are a sure foundation because you're sure upon him. He says that I'm going to build the rock of my foundation, and it's going to be inside of you. And the gates of hell should not prevail against it. No negative thoughts, no negative actions, no religious dogma. Sometimes we'll try to come off the wall of ourselves because of what people say. That's not how you show love towards God. You have to be in the missions field. You got to tell everybody about scriptures. You may do that, but it first starts with, for God so loved you that he gave you time to invest in yourself. For God so loved you that it gave you time to enjoy the life that he's given you. Because if you look raggedy, if you look depressed, if you look overwhelmed, if you're anxious, if you're sick, if you're bitter, if you have unforgiveness, if you have anxiety, that's not a good testimony that God is. He wants you to reflect him. And so I want you to invest in yourself and spend time with God. Spend time with the fruit of the Spirit. That's so important. That is so important. So now that I talked to you about these spiritual things about yourself, I want to say something to Christians. I want to say something to Christians. And it may offend some people, but I'm telling you right now, I don't care if it offends you. I'm going to say this to you all. As grandparents and as mothers, and as I've been in the church for a long time, I want to say this, and I'm a pastor. I like to say this, that there was this old woman that said, you could be so spiritually bound to heaven, but you're no earthly good. And I want my words to have earth goodness and not just heaven goodness. You know, that my words only can live in heaven and they can't live on the earth. And so sound doctrine or sound speaking, I want to say this to you. This is what I heard. I'm not saying that the church did this, but this is what I heard coming up. I heard churches talking so much about don't have sex, abstinence. They believe in abstinence and they believe in don't have sex. That, and a lot of people were getting pregnant and they were getting venereal diseases. And what do I believe? I believe that you are to teach children to be abstinent. I believe you're to teach your children in your home to be abstinent. Okay? That's what I believe. I believe that you as sisters and brothers should be abstinent. Why? Because there are diseases out there. There are soul ties that develop also. You can have unhealthy habits, you know. Lying is the same as having sex, but it's a physical thing. So remember now, if you have sex, then you're allowing things to enter into you more. So lying is a spirit too. But when you lay down with someone, you become as they are. And not only that, but if they have a disease, you can catch it also. So that's the thing that you can tell your children, tell yourself also in the church. But let me just tell you what I want to say. This is the point I want to make, is that this is how I believe it should be taught in the church. I believe that we should teach abstinence in the church. Do not have sex out of wedlock. It's what should we teach? We should tell them that it's not healthy spiritually. It's not healthy naturally to have a lot of partners. But if you, mother, grandmama, if you have people in your church, you have people in your family that are having sex out of wedlock, and you told your daughters and sons, I don't want you to have sex out of wedlock, then you teach them to protect themselves. You tell them that I can't stop you from having sex, but if you're going to have sex, protect yourself. Protect yourself from diseases and protect yourself from also getting pregnant. And boys getting the girls pregnant and the girls getting pregnant. Because they're just having sex. They're not making babies. And when you have sex, you can make babies. They want to have sex, but in the end, they're making babies. And then what happens? They're burdened down with a baby. And then grandma's burdened down with a baby, and our society is going down with all of these kids out here doing all of these things because people were having sex and not really wanting to make a baby. And so the wisdom that I want to tell you is this, is that tell them to stop having sex, making babies. If they want to have sex, then tell them to get protection. But sex makes, if you're unprotected, they're like, I didn't want you to think that I was trying to be sin. Well, listen, if you're going to have sex, then you need to get protection. Sister in the church, children in the church, spiritual people. If you got pregnant out of wedlock, then you were having sex. And if you're having sex, then you need to protect yourself because you got pregnant. Sex will get you pregnant. There are a lot of people who are having sex. If you're having sex, then protect yourself. Now, if you want a child, that's different. But a lot of people get pregnant and they hide it. Children hide it. A lot of kids hide their pregnancies because they're embarrassed. They don't want people to know. You know, when you have a child, you got to take care of them for a long time. It's a lot of responsibility. You have to have aid for them. You can't a lot of kids can't financially support them. So tell your children, if you're going to have sex, are you having sex or are you making a baby? That's different. Do you want to make a baby? Ask them, do you want to make a baby? You have sex. Do you want to make a baby? No. Then let's go down to Planned Parenthood so we can protect you. Because if you can't stop them from having sex, because that's their own body, they'll sneak out of the house to have sex, mama, grandmama, spiritual mama of the church. They will sneak out of the house to have sex, boys and girls. So what do you teach your children? I don't want you to have sex. I believe in abstinence, but they don't believe in abstinence. They believe in having sex before marriage. So you take them down to Planned Parenthood or to the doctor and get them protection because they're having sex. And if they're unprotected, they will get a baby. And a lot of them don't want to make a baby, but they will because you're not teaching them that they're having sex. And they'll get these diseases too. Hiding. And you're not equipping them for this world and these emotions that they have. If they decide not to control them, these boys or these girls, then we don't want these kids in our neighborhoods that are from parents who are just having sex and they've got pregnant. You got it? So let's educate ourselves on that. There are a lot of kids that are having sex and they get pregnant. They're sneaking out of the home and they're having sex and they get pregnant. So you sit down with your girls and your boys and you say, I don't want you to have sex because it can have disease, it can have emotional ties, and it can create babies. But if you're going to have sex without my permission, then let me take you down to Planned Parenthood and get you protected so that you won't have unwanted pregnancies, so that it will give you a burden. You got that? And then teach them about those diseases that can get it also, because there's syphilis out there. There's gonorrhea out there. There's herpes out there. Don't just put your head in the sand and say, stop having sex. That's not enough. Mama of the church, daddy of the church. That's not enough to tell the kids because they're still getting pregnant. And we're still having these kids run around without supervision. And so stop having all these babies while you're having sex. Tell them to protect themselves. Stop having all these babies out of wedlock. If you're going to have sex, protect yourself. If you're going to have sex, protect yourself. There's a difference in having a baby. Okay? That's my rant for the day. That's Pastor Belinda's rant. If you're going to have sex, protect yourself. Don't have sex and get pregnant. What do they say? When you have protection is 99.999% that you can get pregnant. So a lot of these folks are having unprotected sex. Girls, do not allow young man, to convince you to have sex without protecting yourself. Young man, don't you let a young girl convince you to have sex without protecting yourself. Sex is different than making a baby. If you're just having sex, then protect yourself. We can't stop you from having, I believe in abstinence. But if you're going to have sex, protect your children. Make them protect themselves, okay? That's what I got. That's a helpful hint for today. Have that discussion with your sons and your daughters. Have that discussion with them and don't put your head in the sand. Ask them, are you having sex? Or do you want to have sex? I don't want you to have sex. Tell them about diseases. Tell them about it. But also, they may not end up with a baby. They could end up with diseases. So talk to your children, okay? And make sure that you're not sticking your head in the sand, and make sure that you are heavenly bound with no earthly good. There are things that our children are going through on this earth. You got to equip them, not just for the church, not just for Christendom, but you also have to equip them for puberty. You got to equip them for these hormones and these emotions. And I'm going to help you out. I'm going to tell you. And you blame it on me. You say, Pastor Belinda told me to sit down with my daughter or my son, that I can talk to them. If they're, I don't want them to have sex, but if they're going to have sex, I'm going to protect my baby. I'm going to take them to Planned Parenthood. You sit there proud with them. You tell them that I don't want you to have sex, but if you're going to, I'm going to be here with you. Okay? Okay. I love you all so very much. Remember, now we have prayer for breakfast at 9:30. We have 9:30 prayer for breakfast. And so be on the line with me for prayer for breakfast. Have a great day. Blame it on me. If anyone says that she ain't super spiritual, I don't care what you say. I don't care about what the church say. If they say that I'm a heretic or whatever, you protect your babies out there, because there's too many children running around unsupervised because people had sex and they didn't want to make a baby. Come on. Kids are running around there being killed. Love y'all. Have a great day.